Hello everybody, it is Austin Clouds Ghost Cloud today with another top 10 roller coaster video. This one is going to be top 10 roller coasters in all of India. And India is pretty interesting. They don't have really a whole lot of standout rides. You've probably heard of a couple of them, but this one we're going to go over the top 10 roller coasters in India in my personal opinion. I verify these lists by looking on RCDB and kind of deciding what ride looks the best, what ride looks to have the better ride experience in general, and then I put them in a top 10 list. So who knows? Some of you might really agree with it. Some of you might disagree. Some of you might think, what the hell is this kid, like, what drugs is this kid doing? Keep in mind, I'm making this list completely sober. I'm not even coaster drunk right now. So, let's get to it. Number 10 is Water Shoot at VGP Universal Kingdom. There are actually a lot of these water shoot rides. The problem with them all, though, is that they're all pretty short and they're all pretty slow. This one is the tallest and the fastest and the longest of its kind, at least in India, and it looks pretty fun. The thing is, it's basically, if you imagine a aerodynamics log flume, but scaled down a lot, you would basically get this. Or, better yet, imagine like those small boat rides that you see, like Whitewater Falls at Great America. Something more like that, but smaller on a smaller scale, and it has a roller coaster track instead of being a flume ride. This actually looks pretty cool. There's a little airtime moment in it, which looks pretty interesting. And the thing with the ride is that in India, there are not a lot of coasters that are better than this. I picked this because it looks fun, looks like a good time. Just something you'd ride like, oh, that's cool. Next to the, right, you know, and the next one, to the next credit, basically, after that. For number 9, we have Hula Loop. This is a Pinfari looping cyclone, and the reason why I put this over Water Shoot is because A, it's taller, faster, and longer, B, it has a loop, and C, it just looks to have a better ride experience. I've watched a POV of this ride. It actually looks pretty decent, and if you're wondering, yeah, you can actually find POVs of this on YouTube. It's kind of rare, but you can find like at least 2 or 3 of them. They're not really crazy hard to find, but Hula Loop doesn't look awful. There are a lot of rides that I think are better than Pinfari's, by the way. Like, for example, Vekoma SLCs. I think Viper at Magic Mountain's worse. I think there are a lot of rides that are worse. I think Coast Rider's worse, in my opinion at least. But there are a lot of rides that could be worse than this, especially in India, so that's why I'm putting this at number 9. Just looks like a pretty good time, and pretty alright ride overall. Now, here's the thing. A lot of these countries that are away have their best coasters are Vekoma boomerangs. And number 8 is Recoil. It's a Vekoma boomerang. Number 7 is Recoil. It's a Vekoma boomerang. And number 6 is Recoil. It's a Vekoma boomerang. There are 3 park chains that have all gotten boomerangs that have named them all Recoil. I guess it's better than Six Flags naming their boomerangs Boomerang, but I can't really tell. Like, to me, it's almost just as bad to name them both Recoil. Either way, though, they're Vekoma boomerangs, so they're better than Pinfari loopers and whatever the hell Water Shoot is, but they're still not the best ride choice ever. However, it does make up almost half this list, so I mean, come on. I guess that one chain though is doing something right if their rides are some of the best in their country, or not their country, their continent. Next, for number 5, we have Loop Roller Coaster. This is from a manufacturer that I do not know. Apparently is native to Asia, and they make a lot of rides. One of the more popular ride manufacturers in Asia, actually. But they made this one called Loop Roller Coaster, and it actually looks pretty, it looks comparable to an Aero Looper almost. It looks pretty decent. It doesn't look bad, but it definitely looks better than Recoil, Hula Loop, and Water Shoot. Next up, number 4 is Roller Coaster. This is basically an Aero corkscrew model. We've all ridden some kind of Aero with a corkscrew in it. This is going to feel pretty similar to that. It's also one of the newer Aero corkscrews, so it's going to be smoother than like the one at Silverwood, which is nice. But not really much for me to say there. Just number 4, Roller Coaster. It's an Aero corkscrew model. Number 3 is Astro Express. Now, some of you guys probably have seen the TPR POV. This is the roller coaster, or one of the roller coasters, that goes through a mall. It looks pretty cool, and it actually is, it looks like a fun time, and especially since you don't see too many coasters going through a mall, especially through a mall, like, through where the stores are and stuff. This one actually goes through the stores. And a lot of you guys, when you think of mall roller coasters, you think of, like, Mall of America with, like, Nickelodeon Universe. This is not in its own little amusement park area. You actually ride among the shops, which I think was pretty cool. And also has a vertical loop in it, a couple other cool elements. So I thought, this looks better than the Air Corkscrew. It looks better than pretty much everything on this list, except for the first two. And number 2, speaking of, is Nitro. This is looking like one of the most unique B&M Flawless coasters out there. It looks like a pretty fun time. The drop is different than a lot of B&M Flawless coasters. And it actually looks pretty intense as well. The problem is I can't really judge it too much because a B&M Flawless isn't the best ride you can get for a B&M. But in terms of being number 2 in India, this actually looks like a pretty solid coaster and something that I would actually like to ride sometime in the future, not gonna lie. And coming up at number 1, I believe it's in the same park as Nitro, is called Deep Space. And the reason why I put this over Nitro, even though a lot of people are going to say Nitro is best in India, Deep Space is a Premier Rides Spaghetti Bowl launch coaster. This looks like a much better ride than Nitro, in my opinion, because the positive G-forces and the negative G-forces both look better on Deep Space. Also, the ride has a launch too, which I love launch coasters, and it just looks overall like a better ride. Longer, faster, all that stuff. Really fun coaster, and, well, I don't know if it's fun. It looks better than everything else on this list, at least in my opinion. But yeah, just keep in mind, guys, all of this is determined off of RCDB. It's also determined on my personal opinion when I ride cloned coasters of this variant. Like, I've ridden a couple of Vekoma Boomerangs, and that's why I'm putting Recoil in 6, 7, 8, because they all feel the same to me. And Hula Loop, I've ridden a Pinfire Looper, so I'm putting that at number 9 because it's alright. But just keep in mind, this list is pretty much mainly determined off of what I'm looking at when I look at RCDB. And sometimes I'll go look at POVs of these rides, but when they're too hard to find, I won't. But looking at it, though, I can tell you guys that this is probably how I'd rank the top 10 roller coasters in India. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to try to be making more of these top 10 roller coaster lists in the future. For me, I think they're kind of fun to make. I think they're kind of funny. Just to look at how many coasters are actually in these countries that no one really looks at for coasters. No one really looks at India for coasters. No one really looks at South America for coasters. But I think it's going to be fun to make lists about the coasters in these countries or continents around the world. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, comment. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.